sexism did extend to Bread and Puppet. It continued there for sure. And then I wanted to share this photo, which is a photo of, I guess I took it from Girl in First Position by the Expanding Secret Company, directed by Tamar, at La Mama Galleria in 1997. And I think that is Meredith in the front of me. There. I was basically the only woman who spent time there. And when I would build things in there, various men would ask, "Do you need help with that?" They would watch me working and then would tell me to change the way I held the hammer, exclamation point. Or they would say, "I could do that for you. How many do you need?" The first year or two I was there, women were rarely in the workshop and men were not in the sewing room. The sewing room was full of women, but things were changing in US culture as a whole. This was the 80s and early 90s, a tangible result of the feminist movement of the 60s and 70s. Young people were learning about gender issues and feminism and patriarchy in their high schools and colleges, and they were beginning to challenge the status quo. And so by my third summer there, I remember going up to the sewing room and being so happy it was full of men that I took this photo. I don't know where the photo is. I don't know. Oh yeah, it's right there. Yeah, great. I took this photo, and I don't have a picture of it, but I remember that same day I went to the workshop and it was full of women. At a lot of meetings, you could count on Meredith to sort of bring up the uncomfortable issue that people weren't talking about. Said, well, actually, we need to think about this. She said here, I want to go back to the pageants and spirituality in a different way for a moment, which involves a circus in the mid-'80s. Usually this audience sat on one side of the hill and watched the circus. Then there would be a break, and then they'd come back and sit on the pageant viewing hillside an hour later, over there. But there was one year when there was no break between. The entire audience of 15 to 20,000 people was asked to move from one side of the viewing hill to the other so the circus could continue straight into the pageant. And it worked. It went incredibly smoothly. All 20,000 people were able to shift en masse from where they were sitting, find new places on the other hillside and settle in. It was so memorable. And it points out this phenomenon of things that seem impossible elsewhere being totally possible and able to happen. I feel like part of the spirituality is understanding that we people are part of this entire universe full of creatures and life and different organisms and geology and weather and everything. During all those Bread and Puppet moments, especially in the outdoor shows, we were actively being an integral part of the universe. And when you allow yourself to be part of it, giant things are possible. When you're open to it and in tune with it, you find what is possible. For me, that is part of this big spiritual feeling. A part of that was when we would wonder, should we cancel the show because of rain? Should we move it indoors? Those shows had a place and a role in the universe, and the weather was going to work with us and allow the show to happen. And most often, inclement weather did and does hold off. So at those moments, I felt we were connected with the entire universe, and that's part of this spirituality.
A friend that you meet in your 20s really kind of becomes one of the lenses in which you look at the rest of your life. So it's hard to imagine Meredith not here to hear like the latest midlife crisis, older life crisis I'm going through. And just even, yes, her fierceness and her, I like now that she was, as Peter said, everything controversial. She always had a comment, but now I can hear it better. I'm glad that it was so fierce because it can stay longer. We're with our friend Nabila, and we were really prepared for Nabila's death, and it was a really beautiful experience for us, and completely the opposite of Meredith's departure. Homes, I have a file of them, but on the day after she died, I knew Claire had wonderfully sent her body off to Burlington so it could be looked at by the medical examiner because no one had seen her when she died. And so I live in Burlington, so I went. She wrote poems. I've got a little assistance in writing poems, but these are the words, some of the words that I sat for 8 minutes and just wrote what I wanted to say in that time. So here, a poem for Meredith. On this day in the month of May, I learned the day she died. What a sad day. So your prickly nature, your toasts and your rhymes, your crankies, your jokes, and your blueberry wine, creativity, friendship, and the thoughts I can do. We keep in our hearts and think of you, like straw in a garden, a nourishing mulch, a toast to you. Dear Meredith Holch.
You know, some people know some of these stories, but when me and Esther came here during the pandemic and we didn't have anywhere to live, she let us live in her house in East Hardwick. She was in Boston at the time, and we were starting back in like 2017, 2018. I would come up here in the summers to work in the kitchen, and she offered me the house. We would roommate together, and it opened up to me what now has become my new life here in Vermont. And there's many of you here as well that have opened to me, and I'm thankful to you as well. But if I had to say one person who sort of logistically made that possible, it was Meredith. Roommates, that we related to each other as neighbors. I live right across the street from her, and I had already started grieving in a way because I knew that she was leaving. She had signed a FEMA buyout for flood mitigation. She didn't know. She was trying to come up with a plan, but Meredith, she didn't care. She didn't need a plan. She was like, maybe I'm going to build a tiny house. Maybe I'm going to move here, move there, and I just felt like sad. That I think is like a special thing. I think geography and places are not just the hills and the trees, but the people too. I'm grateful to still live there, but it will always feel like an emptiness. And these last 2 months have been hard because every time we look out our front window, there's a mostly empty house. There was a cat in the house for a while, and I do want to just throw out there, Pumpkin. Never had a chance to meet Pumpkin. She is a really wonderful, very small cat who is not orange. Meredith named her Pumpkin, not an orange cat. But yeah, there's been this hole there, and I know that eventually the state's going to come and knock the house down, and I just hope that together we can keep the memory of her home and her life alive. I kind of felt like in the moment when she died, one of the first thoughts that came to me, because I came back home, I had waved to her, and she had just been on a trip. Sorry, this is the context, but she'd just been on a trip visiting another friend who had lost their child, the Storrs family. Said, I'm rushing out, I'll come back in an hour and we'll talk. And when I came back an hour later, she was gone. There were lots of other people there, but she was gone. And the first thought that came to me was damn, this house did not want her to leave in some way. But I always sort of equated her with that house, and so I was struggling to know how to get over that. But then when she died, that was just the thought that came into my head, and I'll miss her. Hardwick, our village, will miss her.
Everyone just loved her. That film festival wanted to hear every detail about how she did all her stop animation. And she got set up for a bunch of jobs this summer. She was going to do animation with our other friend, and it was just a very, very up and exciting and productive time.
First, when you have skiing to do, why fall over? Don't you know we're all happier with you here? I didn't even see you that much, and your absence is ferocious and huge. From you and death, I learned something about living. You lived right under your skin, not pulled back, not hidden, not there, as you accused me of once. Giving a compliment all came from just under your dry skin. You played your trumpet and violin without extreme grace. but with a presence, with I want, with I am here. I am here. Give me more lines. Line for you, but I can't. I tried to find the last note you sent to me, where you called the last ski trip a few of us friends took wonderfully awful. You nailed it. So I lift my glass to you, Meredith, who said, I am here. Meredith! I am here.
Working on, she has this idea. She wrote a grant to do like a signage for someone, and she wanted it not to just be like a sign. She wanted it to move. She's like, well, how do we make an outdoor cranky box? So we were like workshopping prototypes and this up with, and I put some of the memories of this past year and the past few years of all the things that we did over the years together. Watched the fish climb up the Willoughby River. They weren't there, but we had fun anyway. Ferries and floating down her river in inner tubes that she like found at garage sales. And all of those things that you probably have done at one point or another. But I did the first thing in here. Arrived about a week after she died, and I was like, the nerve. But also, and then a couple days ago I was cleaning under my fridge and I found another one she had sent me, some like those protective magnet things, and I was like, oh, you want this up here so that you can have the last portion.
Meredith Holch really loud.
We love the dogs.
best memory of Meredith was in 1999, everyone was freaked out about Y2K. It was like, the world's gonna end. And Meredith and I were like, let's go on a road trip to Vermont. We were living in Brooklyn. And we had this great, really magical trip and cross-country skied and stayed at this B&B. And I thought, well, if the world is gonna end, I want Meredith Holch. I want her on my side. So this is, and it's called Meredith. One, two, three, four.
Oh my gosh, the hummingbird. Creamy. Rose skating.
Cranky box, very meta.
Blueberries? I'm dying to know the story behind it. About tubing.
Exciting.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
It's everything people just
For a
all
second I look at.
talked about.